What is up, Flockers? That is my fellow Lockers and aspiring Lockers. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you how I installed my 314 braid locks in under 24 hours. So if you want to hear about that, then stick around. I realized that in several videos I have kind of glossed over the whole process of how I have done my locks. I have kind of talked about what I did, how I did it, but I have not gone in depth from start to finish of exactly what my process was, what my mindset was. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes today just to let you know, for those that are interested and those that want to know the specifics, just in case you're out there thinking that you may want to start a similar journey yourself. So if you're looking at my hair, I have Braidlocs. There are 314 Braidlocs in my hair, or at least that's how many I started with. I don't think that, well, no, that's not true. I did add this little baby nugget on the side out of sideburn hair, so I guess now I'm at 315. But I won't count the little baby ones out of baby hair because they may or may not stick around. They may get added into other locks as they mature. But unlike some other micro lockers on this platform or on other platforms, I did not want to start out with a specific grid. I just don't have the patience, I don't have the time, the wherewithal. That's just not my style. I'm not really into the scalpy look when it comes to locks, and some people are. Some people really like to see those crisp parts, the crisp squares or diamonds or whatever style that they choose in terms of their parting method. But for me, that's not important for me. For me, I want it to have a full, healthy set looking locks. I was not very interested in people being able to see my scalp. I'm still not really interested in people being able to see my scalp. And so that was part of my decision making and not wanting to have a specific grid. I didn't want to have a straight across grid. And part of it was just honestly laziness and not wanting to try to measure things out. I just, even in my life, I cut first, measure never. Oh, no. For those people that say measure twice, then cut or whatever, I cut first, don't measure at all. And I kind of took the same approach with my hair. So in applying that to what it actually means for my hair, I did start in the back. The night before I washed my hair, and I did a bunch of chunky 2-strand twists all over my head. Again, with these, I did not section my hair. I literally would take a chunk like this and I would just put it in a 2-strand twist so that my hair could dry and so that it could be sectioned when I did want to go in and actually do my parting for my locks. And so honestly, they were probably just about this size too. So all over my head, I had 2-strand twist, detangled hair, and I would literally go in and I would take out a section of hair at a time and I would do my parting off of that section. So you're saying, well, how did you part things? And I'm telling you, I promise you, I did not do any specific strategic parting until I got to the top, just because I wanted to have a somewhat straight middle part and then a side part on each side. So that's the only time that I really paid attention and halfway used the comb to figure out my parting. But so I would literally take a section of hair like this that was loose natural hair, just twisted. I would take it apart, okay? So I have all this hair, and then I would scoop out a section of hair. And I wasn't so fixated on getting every lock to be the exact same size because, again, just like I didn't want perfect parts and straight lines and stuff, I didn't want every lock to be the exact same size. I feel like it gives you a fuller look when your locks are different sizes. And I'm not saying have some that are ginormous and some that are super thin, but having a variation of lock size as well as your parting being varied throughout your locks and your head also gives this illusion of having more locks, having fuller locks than maybe you do. I know a lot of people have told me that they thought that I had well over 500 or 600 locks when I'm in the low 300s. So, but yeah, I scooped out a section of hair. Obviously it looked a little different because it wasn't locked at the time, but I scooped out a section that felt about relatively the size that I wanted. I knew I didn't want them bigger than a pencil, and so I scooped out the size that felt right. I'm all about feel. And then I would clip off that section of hair that I wasn't working on. Do I have a clip here? I have a clip here. All right, so I would section this off, and then I would take that section of hair and I would just go down and braid it. braid it until I got to as close to the end as possible. And then when I got to the end and I couldn't really braid anymore because I was starting to get that carpal tunnel and my fingers and stuff was starting to cramp up and hurt, I would twist it at the end. And then when I get to the end, after I couldn't twist anymore, I would just twist it around my finger like that to make sure that it was in one piece and wasn't gonna go anywhere. I have 4C through 4Z texture hair, and so it wasn't gonna come apart no matter what I did, so I wasn't really concerned about that. But that is how I went through, and then once I was done with that, I would scoop out another section from what I just had, relatively around the same size, not really being anal about whether it's bigger than the previous one or smaller, just trying to get in the relative vicinity of the same amount of hair, and I would braid it down again. Now, my goal was to not braid super tight because I knew that braiding tight would cause my braid pattern to stay for longer than I would probably want. The tighter you braid, the longer the braid pattern is gonna stay. So I really tried to minimize my braid pattern as much as possible. But with that being said, when I got around the perimeter of my head, I wanted to have a certain look and a certain aesthetic. So I did actually braid these front rows tighter, not super tight, but I did braid them tighter. And to this day, I still have more braid pattern in the front than I do anywhere else, but that was my strategy going around. So I did start in the very back and I worked my way up until I probably got about halfway. Then I started doing the sides and worked up to that same side. And then I went and I worked back to front until, like I said, the last ones that I was doing were the ones in the front. And part of it was me braiding a little bit tighter in the front because it was the perimeter, and part of it was just I was exhausted at that point and I was ready to make it through it. Now, I said I did all this in under 24 hours. That is true, but I did not do it in one sitting in one day. That was broken up over a 4-day period. So within 4 days, some days I would do, 4 hours here, 6 hours here, and I was honestly just braiding as I was going through and doing work, or I would be taking a lunch break and I would be braiding. I would be braiding at night while I'm watching Netflix or Hulu. I would just braid anytime I had a chance, and if I need to go out somewhere, I just throw a head wrap on my head and keep it moving, go to the store, get what I need, and then come back and start braiding some more. So it all took less than 24 hours, but it was over a span of 4 days that it took me to do my hair. So 4 days, about 23, 24 hours. And like I said, I came out with a low side of 314, 15-ish locks. Like I said, many people think that I have well over 500 or 600 locks. People think that I have sister locks. It looked like I was just digging in my nose. I wasn't. My nose is itching, but I wasn't digging in it. Sorry to do that on camera, but whatever. Y'all the family, the FLocers. And this is what we're looking like. We're 16 months in. Hair is flourishing. It's looking great. I'm happy with it. I did dye my tips some months back, and I have not had any damage, no shedding, nothing like that. Nothing crazy. I think that I do a pretty good job of keeping my hair and my locks moisturized on a regular basis so that I don't deal with any after effects of having damaged hair, after effects of having dyed hair. But truth be told, when you dye your hair, you are damaging your hair to some extent. So that's just the reality of it. But as long as you take care of it and do what you need to do, you shouldn't have too much problem. Unless your hair is just susceptible to damage. Now, if you know that your loose natural hair gets damaged and breaks off every time you dye it, don't dye your locks, because just because they're more fortified doesn't mean that the hair within the lock is any stronger. So you got to do what's right for your hair and your locks. If your loose natural hair didn't take well to chemical treatment and stuff like that, your locks probably aren't going to like it either. Just keep that in mind. If you found this video at all helpful and insightful, make sure to hit that like button, as it does help this channel, and also subscribe to the channel so that you can see all the videos that I post here and join the flock. Before you go anywhere, make sure to check out some of the other videos that have popped up on the screen. I'll see you there.